Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Franz Pear from Skyline and we power the NCL Games. Today is NCL 101 and we're here to tell you everything that you need to know about the NCL season. So with me today, we've got some members from our players committee. We've got Root 007 and Paul, or Press Space to Hack. For those of you who are not aware of the players committee, they're a group of NCL alumni who work to support the NCL community. And they're here to be a resource and help guide all of you learners out there. And so you might see them on some of our live streams like this one, as well as in the Discord and in some of our Trove blog posts. So keep an eye out for them. They're always here to help. So with that out of the way, they'll be kind of here to answer some of your questions in the chat. And then at the end of my overview, we're going to have an open Q&A, open chat, where they'll be able to share some of their experiences having been NCL players and hopefully provide some advice and answer any questions that you all might have. So I'm just going to go through and kind of give you all an overview. As you have questions, we're going to kind of compile those and save those for the end so that they can go and answer them for you. So a quick starter here with the fall season dates. These are the most important things that you'll need to take away from today. Is you do not want to miss these dates. We have the gym, which is a practice environment that's open right now up until December 15th. So if you are able to if you're able to register right now, you can go in right away and play in the gym. And I would highly recommend, if you're not yet registered, you have friends who are not yet registered, go ahead and do that, because you can start practicing right away. So the longer you wait, the less time you have to practice. That is followed by the practice game, October 9th through 15th. So this is like a week-long event. And like the gym, it is meant for practice, but we call it the game because you're not going to have the guides with the solutions to help you out. So we've got the practice game, which you don't have the guides, but you are allowed to collaborate with your peers. So any of your friends from your school, your club, if you have a hard time going through a challenge, you can go to them for some help because this is the practice game. Now, October 20th through the 22nd, that is the individual game. This is over the course of a weekend. And this is a competitive event. So you have to work by yourselves and you can't get help from your friends, your coach online. However, after the game ends, you can get help from your friends, from your coach, kind of going through how to solve the different challenges. We also have a post-game debrief that we host on Discord immediately after the game, where we will go over the steps to solve the challenges, and everyone else in the community can kind of share the unique ways that they solve those challenges too. And then for those of you who are wanting to work together in a competitive environment, that's why we got the team game, November 3rd through the 5th. Again, weekend-long event. You can do teams of up to 7, and you can compete with like working together with all of those up to 7 people on the team. So that's a great way to use your combined knowledge and really learn from each other. We see a lot of teams use this as an opportunity to not just compete, but also develop new skills from other people's knowledge. All right, and then a quick overview of the topics within NCL. We've got open source intelligence. This is the just Google it module, where it's all of the cybersecurity challenges you can solve just by using online and free resources. Cryptography is all about encrypting and decrypting messages. Password cracking, similar to cryptography, although it's specifically with passwords. And so it's breaking password hashes. We've got log analysis, where you're going to be looking through some forensics evidence. So oftentimes this is going to be text-based or some sort of proprietary like log format of events and records of what has occurred. And you have to analyze that to figure out what happened. So maybe this is evidence of a data breach, of a web server being compromised, and you'll look through those logs and trying to figure out what happened. Scanning, this is the category where you will use tools to go and find information on a target. So maybe you're looking at a web server and trying to find some hidden files, maybe a hidden admin panel. Maybe you're scanning a file share and you're looking for different files that are available on that server. Enumeration exploitation. This is kind of where a little bit more of the offensive and reverse engineering skills come into play. Typically, this is going to involve some sort of software vulnerability, and you're either going to be exploiting the vulnerability, trying to reverse engineer the code to find the vulnerability, and maybe write an exploit on top of that. That's the really more advanced topic within the NCL. Network traffic analysis. This is where you're going to be looking at computer network traffic, devices communicating with each other with different protocols and trying to piece together what happened. So maybe you have a situation where a file was transferred across the network. Maybe you can reassemble that and figure out who sent what and what was that information that was sent. Forensics, this is going to be kind of like looking and analyzing at some data and trying to piece together maybe some like obfuscated information. Maybe you have a memory dump and you're trying to find and extract files from a memory dump. So this is something that's a little bit more on the law enforcement side or post-incident, like kind of recovery phase of like a commercial enterprise. And then we've got web application security, and that's specifically about finding vulnerabilities in web servers. All right. So if you all have any questions about any of those categories, please ask in the chat. We're going to have our players committee here kind of give you some advice on these different topics as well. Another thing I want to cover is the scouting report. So this is what you will get as the result of going through your NCL experience. So the scouting report is really valuable because it gives a highlight of the specific tasks that you're able to perform within the NCL. And this is useful for two reasons. One is that if you're still a learner, it's a good way to kind of act as a benchmark and a milestone for where you are in your education and your learning process. And so if you're coming in as a complete newbie, as a freshman, this might be a good tool for you to identify, this is what I know, this is what I don't know. Maybe you find out that, hey, I'm not interested in these topics, so then you don't have to worry about it. Or maybe you find out you really are interested in let's just say log analysis here, and you can figure out what skills you might want to develop, as well as on the right side here, we have a list of the types of jobs that you might see that are relevant to these specific skill sets. And so you get this whole breakdown on all of the specific modules within the NCL, and whether or not you're kind of like a little bit more advanced or you're more of a beginner, this is a helpful tool for you to kind of baseline your learning. Now, the other use is that if you're coming close to going after an internship, wanting to get a job, this provides evidence of your skills that you can use during the interview process. So when you go to a company and you apply for an internship or a job, they're going to ask you the question, hey, what do you know about log analysis? If the answer is, I learned about it in class, it's probably not going to get you too far. And so your NCL experience is going to give you something to talk about. And then the PDF report is that evidence that you can actually do it. And so instead of saying, hey, I learned about it in class, you can actually say, oh, well, I used Splunk to analyze these log files to find indicators of compromise. And then you can talk through your process of how you did that. And that's extremely valuable to really impress an employer to get that internship or to get that job. And so the scouting report is great evidence, but also it's those stories that you can tell from your scouting report that will really help you get that internship or job. And then some resources to help you prepare. The first one I already covered, that's the gymnasium. Highly recommend you try that out. It's available both before and after the games, and actually during the games too. And it has solution guides there, both written and video. So we really recommend that you try that out. Other really helpful resources, webinars such as this one. We try to run them about once per week. We have different topics, and we have a couple of webinars for this season that are going to cover different cybersecurity topics that you might find to be helpful. And these are all kind of just deep dives. And you can also go and look at our YouTube playlist, which has all of the past recordings. And as part of the emails that you get when you sign up for NCL, one of those emails is going to be a link to all of these different resources, including the webinars. And so you can click on that to get access to the playlist. And then we also have the Trove, which are written guides and tutorials. You will see in the gym, some of these guides from the Trove are embedded in the gym. And you can also go to the Trove directly to see other articles, other blogs that we have on there, which might not necessarily be connected to a gym challenge, but are still probably helpful and good to know if you're interested in those as well. So all of these links are available in the emails when you register for the season, as well as we have the resources section on the NCL website for the direct links too. And then final tips here before we get to questions. Number one is to focus on setting your own personal goals. Something to keep in mind is that the NCL this season experience, it's not like an assessment that you will get from school. It's not like a standardized test. So it's really meant to like identify the wide range of skills that people have. And it's meant to test people, whether you're coming in as a first timer or coming in as a veteran that's been doing this for several years. So if you're coming in for the first time, trying to set a goal like, hey, I want to be in top 100, that might not be setting yourself up with the proper expectations. Maybe as a beginner, you might want to have a personal goal of, let me solve one question from every category. And that might be a good way to feel like you've accomplished something regardless of what everyone else does. Because I see a lot of people coming in saying, hey, I want to be top 100, top 5%, top 10%. And that's hard. And it's also not necessarily something you can control, right? You can't control how everyone else is performing. And so try to set a personal goal so that no matter what everyone else is doing, you can find kind of the success and achievement in what you set out to do. The second suggestion here is focus on scoring the points. So the way that scoring works within NCL, I mean the ranking works, is that whoever has the most points wins, they get the better rank. And then only in the case where there's a tie on points do we go and use whoever has higher accuracy as the tiebreaker. So when you go and solve different challenges, you'll get multiple attempts per question. Don't worry about that too much. That only really becomes a factor for like the really, really competitive players. And so if you're coming in and you're still trying to learn things, do educated guesses. You've got plenty of attempts. Don't just kind of make dumb submissions. Try to make those educated guesses. But if you're stuck between like 2 or 3 options, instead of spending all this time trying to exactly get it 100% perfect, just answer all of them. Give them all a shot. See which one's right. And save yourself some time, which could be better spent working on another challenge. And then maybe that helps you kind of accelerate the learning process, because you might be able to go from the answer to then reverse engineer why that was the correct answer. Another hint is to keep good notes, really to help you reflect. A lot of people can easily kind of just like go 100% all into the game and kind of zone into it. And you can get to the end and be like, wait, what happened? So taking notes will help you kind of like reflect and review what you've learned. And the last tip I'll give here as a beginner, don't forget to take breaks. We've seen some situations where like NCL players will get together for like the team game. They'll get pizza in a lab room and they'll stay up 24, they'll pull an all-nighter. And that's not necessarily healthy. So make sure you get some sleep, take a shower, get rested. And sometimes that break is going to be like thing that kind of inspires you and helps you get to that correct answer rather than just trying to brute force it when you're really tired. So take breaks, make sure you take care of yourself. Yeah, you do?
Yes. There's a whole blog post that amounts to take breaks.
Yeah, it's really, really important. And if you might be surprised for how much of a difference that it makes. So that was kind of my little spiel here. We got through all of the slides. It only took 15 minutes. Let's get to the fun part now, where we get to go to the Q&A and you all get to share your experiences here. So I'm going to dig through the chat here and see what questions people have. All right. And then Paul or Root 007, if there's any questions that you want me to put up on the screen, let me know. And I can go ahead and do that.
I've got a few quick points for questions that have been asked repeatedly. If you're trying to join Discord, the best way to get there is to log in to the Cyber Skyline dashboard And on the right-hand side where it says updates, there's a community chat button with the Discord logo. There are also several links to it in the comments. Yes, this is being recorded. You can access it via the same link that you used to get here initially. It will take a little bit for the recording to go live, usually, but it will be available. What else?
If you're trying to register, you can actually go to cyberskyline.com/events/NCL, and you can register right there. I know there was a question that was brought up. I know, Paul, you wanted to address it, and I also had some comments on it about using some of the tools, like if they had access to it, like Splunk was one of them. I know you had some comments, so I'll let you go ahead and say what you have to say first, and then I had some comments as well on some of those tools, so go ahead and I'll let you say what you need to say first.
Can we get that comment on the screen actually as a question? I believe it was from Jerry. Is Splunk included now in NCL Gym? So, Jerry, I'm not sure whether you're asking, I assume you're asking, are there tutorials on using Splunk in the gym? And the answer to that is, I believe the gym has not changed from previous seasons. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the changes that we've been making to the gym have just been to provide the tutorials, but like the challenges are the same. So you could use Splunk to solve some of the gym challenges, but you'd have to set up Splunk on your own device.
And oftentimes, but not always, the guides are reviewed. I know I've submitted suggestions for changes to the guides. And when I submit suggestions, I usually try to make them tool agnostic. So personally, when I'm competing in NCL, I don't use Splunk. I use a variety of other tools, but all of the challenges in log analysis, pretty much all of them, you could solve with Splunk. There's no correct tool, and as such, the gym guides don't necessarily mandate a particular tool. They may provide an example, but if you haven't seen Splunk in the gym guides previously, you probably won't see it this season either. On that note, do you want to add anything to that one?
I just read that question differently, and so that just brought me to another point regarding all tools in general. So we are in the process of working on adding some, eventually we will be adding some more like guides, videos, possibly on using some of those different tools in the future, as well as if anyone is looking for possibly access to using those different tools, like free access to using those different tools. I know a lot of times, either through your schools, you may have access to free use of like basic use of those tools. Or a lot of times, if anyone is looking for ways to use different tools, if you just go online to those tools and just create like accounts, a lot of times as a student, they will allow you to use those tools, in the basic mode and stuff. If you haven't, if you're looking for different tools to try in the competition, sometimes just try, entering in, like seeing if they have like a free student account that you can use and stuff. If anyone is looking for access to try different tools, you can usually check out if they have a student account. And if you're looking for that.
Yeah, and on that note, we have 2 questions in the chat. Can we use our own tools like we have internet access during the challenges? And then there's another one as well for, are there any specific tools that are off limits? Paul, do you want to take those?
You generally can only use free tools or tools that are so generic that probably everyone has access to them. For example, Microsoft Word is not a free tool, but pretty much everyone is going to have it. Same for Windows. What you can't do is go out and get IDA Pro, pay thousands of dollars for it, or get it from your school or employer and use that. That would be off limits. There's some wiggle room. For example, some people like to use VMware Workstation. For NCL, that's not going to give you an advantage over a free alternative. So if you have it, you might as well use it. Same for Hyper-V. It's common enough. Burp Professional, no.
I will say, like,
Community Edition.
Free trials are okay though. So
Yeah.
if you need like a free trial of like AWS, but you don't want to install Kali on your own machine, you could do that. I don't know if AWS is cool with you installing Kali on there, but yeah, any free trials are okay.
AWS doesn't care if you install Kali.
Okay, well, they care if you mine Bitcoin.
They don't mind Bitcoin. Don't run Nmap. Well, I think we've solved that issue, but
yes. By the way, if you try to use AWS for doing like one of the scanning challenges, you might get a very angry message from AWS and your account banned.
Don't do that.
Wouldn't recommend that. There's also a question, B2E Bob, what is considered cheating? Can I use open source info, AI? So this is a very important question. So cheating is basically for the individual based events, if you are getting any assistance, active assistance from anyone else other than yourself. So
for a specific challenge.
For a specific challenge, right. And so if you are going online and you are passively searching, hey, how do I do X, Y, and Z? That's cool. If you go online and then you start asking people online, how do I do X, Y, and Z? That's not cool. So if you can find it passively, it's okay. If it's active, it requires you to post a question or something online, that's not okay. And this applies not just to online, but like, your teammates for the individual games, right? Like just because you might be on the same team for the team game doesn't mean you can work together for the individual game. Or you can't talk to your coach, you can't talk to your roommate about the challenges. And actually that extends more than just like getting the answer. You can't ask someone for like, hey, what tool do I use? Or like, how did you do this? We're trying to keep it fair for everyone. And so the way that we have the rules is that you're not supposed to have any communication about the challenges, because since this is remote, it's hard for us to differentiate between how do we know if you all are just asking about like the question, just talking about the question and asking each other, which one are you working on, versus giving each other the answers. So we say just have no discussion about the challenges during the game. You can discuss after the game, but like during the individual game, you can't do it. But with the team game, you're all good amongst each other. With the question with AI, we do not allow AI. And the reason for that actually is that we found that AI is a really big distraction from the process, because it's actually like really confident in giving the wrong answers. So it's a little bit of like a cautionary thing of like, look, if you try to use AI, you might just make it more hassle than it's worth. And
I've got some comments on this.
You got some comments on this? Go ahead.
Yes. If you post questions on Reddit, you are going to get banned and you are going to get an academic integrity violation of some sort from your school. It's not just a matter of being banned from NCL. It does go to your school. Don't cheat. You can't go online and ask how to do the challenges. Similarly, if someone else has gone online and asked how to do a challenge and you Google the exact text of the challenge and find that, you can't use that information. That would be cheating as well. As for AI, if AI worked for these challenges, I'd be out of a job. It doesn't work. As a joke, we tried to use ChatGPT quite a bit. I think it was a season or two ago. It doesn't work. It'll give you very convincing answers that are all wrong. We're getting a lot of questions asking how whether NCL works remotely, whether it's online, and similar. So, do you mind if I address that quickly?
Sure.
Go ahead.
NCL is a fully online, fully remote competition. You don't need to do it at your school, although your specific team may have its own internal policies. But generally, people will be competing from home because it's on a weekend. And you have free access to the internet. This isn't some lockdown thing. There's a whole category for how well you can Google. Yeah.
I just wanted to point out a couple things that I'm seeing here. So, and I don't know if this was already stated and I missed it. It's okay if there are multiple teams at the same school. During the team competition, those teams just cannot interact with each other, right?
Right.
Okay, just want to clarify that. I'm seeing a lot of comments for people saying they are first timers, completely new to everything. Some are even saying that they're completely new to computers. That's okay. I can talk to you guys about that. I was like a complete beginner. This is a great place to start. Don't let that deter you. Yeah, the gym, will it teach you the very basics about computing? Will there be a struggle? There will be a struggle. But this is a very supportive community, and I believe you can do it. So don't let that deter you. There is so much help in this community, and I believe that you could do this and have a blast. As far as I see, there's a question from Joshua Bailey. You're a first-time advisor, wondering if you can register your students or if you need help or if they need to register themselves or whatever. You can actually register your students. And you're wondering about if there's like a facilitation guide or if the gym kind of helps with those lessons as well. Again, the gym is really, really good. And again, we've got the webinars. This community is so supportive. Like, I really, truly believe that you can be a complete beginner. Like I said, I was there, and I fully believe that you can get all the support you need. Just reach out to us. We can help you. If you're a beginner, don't let everyone is nervous at the beginning. Everyone feels lost. Don't let that deter you. Reach out to us. We are here to help you. This community is set up to be the place to learn this and to have fun. And you will. That's what we're here for.
And specifically for coaches and faculty, when you register as a coach for NCL, you'll get invites to our monthly coaches calls. And so that's a place where like we will share updates with the faculty on what's going on within the NCL space, as well as we have breakout sessions for you to talk with other faculty members. And so that's a good way to learn from everyone else. And actually, we have one coming up next week. And the topic for a discussion is how do you prepare for NCL? So as a first-time advisor, I highly recommend that to be a resource there. And like Angela was saying, you can, once you join the community, you can go into the Discord. There are a lot of people there that will help you. We've got the general chat where people are asking questions, and other people within the community or some of the players committee members or someone from the Cyber Skyline team will come in and help point people in the right direction.
So I see a few questions that are easy to knock out with quick answers. Do you want me to take care of those?
All right, take care of them, Paul. You're
Go
probably
for
going to
it.
be faster on the draw than I can put them up on the screen.
All right. Kyle asked whether certain peripherals are banned or allowed and whether macros are allowed. You can use whatever hardware you want. It's fine. You can use macros. You can have weird keyboards. That's fine. How much time should folks set aside for the weekend competition? that depends how competitive you want to be. If you want to be in the very top ranks, if you think you have a chance at first place, you're going to need to devote the entire competition to it. When someone asked what we mean by taking breaks, we mean don't stay awake for 3 days straight to do the whole competition. That's not how you win. Is there a fundamental course before starting? The answer is we don't have a course. It's really intended for your school to offer whatever courses they may have. You're also welcome to compete even if you haven't taken any fundamental courses. You can take notes. Someone asked whether, or they're concerned about dragging their team down. You can't drag your team down unless you are not a team player. The whole team gets the same set of questions, and if anyone enters an answer and it's wrong, it dings the entire team. If you enter the correct answer, it counts for the entire team. So it's up to you to coordinate with your team members to make sure everyone is checking everyone else's work. You will not be dragging down your team if you are new. It's normal for high-ranking teams to have mostly new members and then 1 or 2 experienced people. Let's see. What about asking ChatGPT what a specific command is, such as how do I use Nmap? You can. We would have no way of knowing. That's probably going to be more difficult than it's worth, and it may give you the wrong answer and just waste your time. It's the same as asking Google. Remember, ChatGPT is an LLM. It's basically autocomplete, but really smart. So you can go to Google and get the same thing. You're not saving any time by doing that. But if you really want to do that, no one's going to stop you.
Well, I have a quick addition to this. Like Paul was saying, we won't know if you're using like AI or ChatGPT. Really, we have the no AI rule to help you all not waste your time, because like we've tried it, like Paul mentioned, and like we've wasted so much time of like, hey, what's the MD5 hash of this string? And then ChatGPT will just spit out something that looks like an MD5 hash, but it's not an MD5 hash. And then you're like, well, how did it get that answer? And then now I'm worried about debugging why ChatGPT is giving me this random, series of strings that is not what I'm looking for, instead of actually solving the problem. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but you're not gonna...
answers, but they're not the correct answers. And if you get caught doing that, if you're asking it for specific answers, then you'll get in trouble.
Right. Now, you could type that exact query into Google or Bing or what have you, and and then you can find links to like Stack Overflow questions of people doing it, and that's fine. So, it doesn't actually add much benefit. It just like adds more headache.
Is there any end prize or maybe a final get-together or event? If you're referring to an in-person get-together or event, NCL includes people from all over the US, so it wouldn't be in person. Sometimes there are challenge coins or very small prizes. If you rank well, some schools will acknowledge you, but there isn't really a full prize. Also, for most people, you probably don't want to be competing to win. You want to be competing to do better than the previous time you competed. April asks, is this very time consuming? I'm taking 4 classes this semester with 5 young children at home too. You can sign up and compete as much or as little as you want. There's no commitment.
Yeah, it's completely flexible. You can do it on your time and, within the dates of the competitions, and you can, put in as much as or as little as you want. When I started it each year, I did exactly that. I I basically did it like you guys are saying, and I would just said, like, each year I wanted to see how much more I learned, how much I advanced. And so I would just do as much as I could finish, with my time schedule, and just see how much more I learned. And it was awesome.
And you don't have to compete in every game. So there's the gym, the practice game, the individual game, and the team game. There's nothing that says that you need to complete the gym or the practice game in order to compete in the individual game. I believe it used to be the rule that you did need to at least attempt the individual game to compete in the team game. Are we still doing that, or did we axe that rule?
No, we got rid of that rule.
Okay, so there you go. You can compete in just the individual game, just the team game, or none of the above. You'll probably want to at least attempt one of those two, but there's no requirement. How does the actual competition environment work once signed in? Does a VPN just put us in the same subnet as the other systems in the competition? The answer is no, it is all web-based. You can compete from a Chromebook. And I have done that. You can compete from a potato. This is designed to be accessible. So it's just a website. The chat is starting to glitch for me.
If there's interest, because I am seeing a lot of people saying that they're really new, kind of in the situation like I was when I first started, and that maybe their school doesn't offer a class on this type of stuff. I am happy, if there's enough interest, I'm happy to schedule either something on Discord or maybe a webinar or something like once a week, that we can meet, or I can do a recording or something with just some tips, basic skills that you would get from those types of classes for those like people that feel that they're very beginners or they just don't know where to start, so that you can feel that confidence going into it. If you guys are interested, I don't know if there's, like Paul and Franz, I don't know if there's a way that they could let us know if they have that interest, and I'm willing to do that, put that time in to do that.
Probably Discord.
Okay.
Yeah, you could let us know in the chat right now if you all are interested, but then Discord is also probably a good way to share kind of like suggestions for what topics you all would want to hear about.
Can advisors compete, or are they forbidden? You can't compete, but you can solve the challenges, so that you can see what your students are doing. You can't discuss the challenges with your students. Your students will get in trouble. You can discuss them after the competition is over, but you cannot assist your students in any way during the competition.
And you can definitely do the challenges, but you're not going to be ranked on the leaderboard. So you'll be able to participate unranked, just so that you can share the same experience as the students.
Can you still compete after you graduate, or only while you're a student? The answer is you should be a student. I think there may be a grace period under some circumstances, but you should really be a...
Yeah, we added a new policy where if you are within 1 year after you've graduated and you still have not yet started a cybersecurity job, you can still compete, mainly because of that scouting report being so helpful in getting a job. We want to still make that opportunity available if you're still trying to find employment. So yeah, NCL is really about trying to like help people get into the industry. And so if you graduated, you're still looking for a job, you're still welcome in NCL.
Kyle asked, should I plan on taking the whole day off from work to participate, or is this something I could work on in an 8-hour shift and spend my afternoon participating? It's pretty common for people not to be able to participate for the whole game because they have to work. It depends how high you think you can rank. If you really are into the competitive aspect and you really think you have a shot at first place, maybe you want to take the day off. But I would say if this is your first time competing, just get a feel for it, take notes, and the next time around, if you really want to go for first, then you can consider taking time off. But it's not really intended for most people to treat it that way, I would say, but it's up to you. Is there a limit on gym usage? Do we get locked out of the gym still during the competitions?
You do not get locked out of the gym during the competitions. So
There
the
you
only
go.
limit is just like the beginning and the end of the season. That's the limit. But anytime within there, you got 24/7 access.
Yep. And it is the intellectual property of Cyber Skyline, so please don't, go around handing it out to people. You are paying for it. What else? Do we have any quick ones? Is there a guide to get started? I think you already addressed that.
Yep.
Did anyone not have their question answered? What is the timer for in the gym? It just tells you when the gym closes. So I think the timer is several months. Is that right?
I mean, yeah, the gym is usually about 3 months long. I think we might be like 2.5 weeks into that now. So
yeah,
that timer, I don't even know. It might even be maxed out because I don't even think the timer can show a duration that long.
Yeah. The timer is intended to show how much time you have left in a particular stage of the competition. Like the individual game would be 3 days and then it would count down. But the gym, despite looking like a game in the interface, isn't really a game. It's just open. So, we just got a lot of questions.
Yeah,
I can answer the Kali on a virtual machine versus a boot, if that's okay. I love Kali. I use Kali.
Move the microphone away from your mouth a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Is that better?
Yeah.
that's
okay. I use Kali for pretty much everything. So I actually have a dual boot. As far as for the competition, I think a virtual machine is fine as long as you make sure to devote enough space to it. Because some people forget to devote enough hard drive space to their virtual machine, and that can cause issues. So just make sure that you do set up enough space on the virtual machine before you set the Kali up to it. Otherwise, mid-competition, you can have some issues, and then having to, completely redo a virtual machine with Kali on it in the middle of the competition can be a huge bummer and time waster. Otherwise, virtual machine should be good enough.
I would suggest a virtual machine just because if you make an oopsie, you can do an undo very easy. So it usually is more helpful to have that option to revert, because like whenever I start a CTF, I take a snapshot right at the beginning. So I know if I download some sort of sketchy tool or run an executable that I'm not really sure what this is, I know I'm in good hands, hopefully. So, you might be able to get better performance out of running it as like its own separate boot, but like Root 007 was saying, if you can give it enough like resources as a VM, I find that having the ability to just undo your work is pretty nice to have.
Yeah. I usually tell people, it may sound like a lot, but I usually tell people, especially if you're planning on staying in this field, doing these kind of competitions or other capture the flags as well, 16 gigabytes at least for a VM is usually good.
For the RAM or the storage?
For the storage.
Okay.
That might depend on how many word lists you want to create, because like the biggest factor with that is typically like the word lists can be like gigs. Yeah.
But do you really want to run the cracking challenges in the VM? I wouldn't. I don't.
Hey,
I don't even use VMs.
Whenever we test it, whenever we QA it, we QA it in a VM, so we know that it works in the VM. So at the very least, you know that we, as the official game creators, have tested it working in a VM.
See, I do everything on my Kali, so that's why I just do a dual boot and leave it as is.
I do eeny, meeny, miny, mo with my computers and pick one, and whatever I'm on is being used for the competition. Yeah, I like if I'm on Windows, someone mentioned WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux. If I'm on Windows, I use that. It's fine. You can use PowerShell. It's such a tool agnostic competition. If you need 300 gigabytes for your virtual machine, Mark,
Yeah, it sounds like we've got an auction going on in the chat. 200 gigs, 250, 300. What are we at now? I will say I'm still like my main rig right now. I'm running 5 like Samsung Evo 250 gig SSDs in RAID. And I've been running this for like years now. Man, like close to 8-9 years. And that's been like everything I've needed for my main computer plus all my VMs and everything. I think like with the RAID setup, I get like 1.25 terabytes or 1.25 terabytes. So you don't need that much RAM, that much space just for your Kali VM. And also, if you've got like VMware installed for your VM and you got the tools, you could like build your word lists on your host computer and then put them over into your VM temporarily. And you don't have to store like the entire word list stash on your VM. You could just do the ones that you want to be running immediately.
All right. Let's see. Someone asked what the difference in skill is between standard and advanced groups. Franz, I think you're in the best position to answer that.
I suppose I'm the expert for this one. So the difference between standard and advanced group is self-selection. So the challenges that you will encounter will be exactly the same no matter what you select. The reason why we give people this option is because we know that there are people who might have industry experience that are going back to school. And we have people who are coming into cybersecurity for the very first time, and we want to make sure that we're keeping these comparisons fair. And so this is going to be self-selection because it's hard for us to specifically say, hey, after this many years of experience, you're considered advanced. We have guidelines, but when you do the registration process, we'll tell you the guidelines, but we'll leave it up to you to decide. And if we see that people are abusing that, we're going to kind of reassign people into the appropriate group. But the idea is that if you've got industry experience, whether that be maybe you've worked on the job, maybe you're in the military, maybe you're going for like a postgraduate degree, so you already have all this knowledge, you should be in the advanced group. But if you're coming in here as like a traditional career path student, or maybe you are transitioning from a different career, maybe you're going from something else into cybersecurity and you don't have a lot of experience already, then you can choose the standard group for the fair comparison. But we also have, like, I know last season, the first place student was a high school student who self-selected themselves to go into the advanced group. So you can always put yourself higher into that group if you really want to. But we just try to have those two options there just to keep it fair, because we don't want it to seem unfair that you've got a lot of people with industry experience being compared to people who are just getting into cybersecurity for the first time.
Kyle asked, but can you run Doom on it? Yes.
You don't even know what are we running it on?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
Joshua Bailey asked several times, can school districts pay by purchase order?
The answer is yes. If you go to the like cyberskyline/event/NCL, it's like the registration page. If you scroll down a little on the right side, it's actually like in the Why Participate section. There's a button for bulk registration. And that'll take you to a form. If you need any help, like getting that set up, if you can't find it, just send us an email at ncl@cyberskyline.com, and we'll make sure to point you in the right direction.
How many times can you complete the same gym task? The answer is the gym functions a lot like the interface for the actual competition. So once you enter the correct answer, it won't accept more answers. However, that doesn't mean you can't complete the challenge again. It just means you can't validate your answer by entering it. That being said, if you look off to the left of the page, there should be a button that lets you see all of your previous answers, both incorrect and correct. So you can manually verify whether you've arrived at the correct answer a second time. Let's see.
We've got a question for, do you have to register with your school email? So what we recommend is when you create your account, use your personal email, because if you leave your school, like after you graduate, you might not have access to your school email anymore. Then you won't have access to any of your stats. So we recommend for your account to use your personal email. Now, when you register for the season, you can put in your school email address for kind of like being able to fill out that form. We also autocomplete like your school demographic information if you use your like .edu address there. But definitely for like the actual account that you have, if you use your personal, that just makes it so you're more likely to be able to log in the future after you graduate. And especially like, you know, you might graduate, go to a different school, you transfer and whatnot. You want to make sure you still have access to that information.
Mm-hmm. Is the gym open year round? No. It's open for the duration of the season. Let's see. More recommendations about virtual machines. I would not recommend running MS-DOS in your virtual machine. That may be difficult.
I think I got a suggestion here, which is we've got like 7 minutes ish left. Mm-hmm. Let's take a couple more questions, but I think it would be cool for the two of you to kind of like share your NCL experience, your NCL journey, especially for a lot of the newer people who are joining us. So I'll pick a couple of questions here, then, you know, whoever wants to take them, go for it. But we've got a question for, is this a viable activity for average high school students? Angela, do you want to take that one?
Yeah. I think it should be in all high schools, to be honest. I actually started this with my son when he was, like 7. Because so I started this when I was in college, and my son was an only child. And so being an only child, Easter egg hunts were not fun because there was no other kids around, you know, to go find eggs with and stuff. So he always saw me competing and he was interested. So I would always, for the Easter egg hunt, I would always like kind of make like little, like, puzzles that he had to solve to find his Easter eggs. Well, I started teaching him um, some of the cybersecurity, some of the challenges, and how to solve some of them. So his Easter egg hunts became harder, and he started having to do some of these challenges in order to find his Easter eggs and his Easter egg basket and everything at the end. So when he joined high school, when we ended up moving to the Pacific Northwest, his high school did not have a cybersecurity club. And so his STEM program, there's a magnet program at his high school, and they asked us if we would start a cybersecurity program club there. And he wanted to, so we did. And the kids, the high school kids, they're amazing. They're ready for this and they can do this. And I'm not kidding. College kids, I mean, get ready. These high school kids, they can keep up with you. You've got a challenge here. You guys, they can keep up with you, and they can do this, and you can do this. You guys can all, like, you know, this is you've got some competitors here. So yes, this is viable for high schoolers. This is viable for all of you. The more the better. It's fun. It's challenging. If anything, I think the kids nowadays are just ridiculously smart, and you guys should be challenged more, because I'm just blown away by how smart kids are. And yes, they can do this, and it's amazing, like what you guys can do, and it's so much fun. So yeah, without a doubt, they can do this, and you can do this. Like you can do this at any time. Like Paul said. I mean, yes, there's challenges, especially with the high schools, because a lot of this districts want to lock down their computers. But if you can do this at home on your own personal devices, that might be the only issue that might come up, is having access to some of the tools because of the district's IT departments locking down, for safety reasons, locking down access to certain tools. Other than that, maybe meeting off campus, maybe having the kids work on the competitions on their own devices outside of campus or at home or whatever. That was the only thing we really came up against for our club. But then I know this year his high school sent out a form that the parents could sign saying, hey, we know that some of these sites are beneficial to their education and maybe, somewhat questionable or whatever. And as long as the parents are okay with it, we can allow them to have access to it. So there's different ways to get around it, but it's definitely viable and definitely worth whatever you have to go up against.
And we've got a question from Olivia. Do you have to have a Linux machine to properly compete?
No.
Paul, do you want to take that? No? Okay. Quick and easy. Perfect.
It may be easier because a lot of the resources you find may be targeting Linux, but it's not strictly necessary.
All right. Perfect. So I know we're kind of getting close to time here. I think it'd be cool to close out with just hearing your stories here of how you got involved in NCL and what's NCL meant to you. Anyone want to start first with that?
Go ahead, Paul.
Oh.
You're getting thrown under the bus, Paul.
I was recruited by a professor I liked while attending community college as a CS student to compete. And it had to have been close to 10 years ago. And we did very well. And we competed for a few seasons. And at least one time I managed to get first place in the individual game. And then another time we managed to get first place in the team game. And we had a lot of fun. I don't think I'd be able to pull off first place these days. I feel like we've gotten more people and they've gotten more competitive, which is awesome.
Angela?
Yeah. And by the way, Chaz, yes, I've seen NCL find a lot of people jobs. But yeah, so I actually spent over 20 years in the medical field thinking that's where I belonged, only to find out that it was just not my thing. And ended up switching into technology. My professor actually wanted to start an NCL club, and I had no idea what it was, no idea what I was doing. But I was like, sure, I'll try it. And so I was one of those people that had no clue what it was and just was like looking for something to try. So I just kind of took the time to try to figure out what it was and had no idea where to start, and kind of figured it out on my own, and I love it. I fell in love with it. And I'm a mom, and my son just kind of fell in love with it with me, and that's kind of where I'm at now. So so you guys can do it. You guys can. if I can do it, you guys can do it, and you guys will kick butt. I know you will.
I need to see the mom son power team coming in and like sweeping the floor with everyone.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I'm gonna get my newbies team out there, and we're gonna take the win.
All right. Well, I appreciate both of you coming out to help us answer these questions. It looks like the chat had a ton of questions. We had over 100 people join us today. And I just love to see all the excitement from everyone joining us in the chat. If you all still have questions, we are going to wrap up for tonight, at least on the live stream, but go ahead on the Discord and ask your questions there. And that might be a good way to get answers to your questions. But once again, thanks y'all for joining. Route 007, Paul, Press Space to Hack. Thank you both for joining me today. And to all of you out there in the audience, good luck with this season of NCL. Thanks so much.
Bye. Bye. Thank you, guys.